And just like that, we're up to episode 87 of the Emergency Storage Shed Cleanout series. I'm not sure if I'll post this next week when I'm at the farm. I might post it this weekend, which means you'll actually get 3 episodes of this series this week, one for the last week when we're in Tassie. And we continue to provide 1 episode of this series every week without any excuses. It's the only way we're going to get this shed done with everything else I've got to do. So we finished last episode by emptying a shelf up the top with the 2 vintage monitors and a couple of other things. I've got to say thanks heaps to Steve from Steve's Electronic Repair Shop. I'll put a link to his channel underneath. He quite often comments on my videos with some amazing advice on old electronic stuff. He is a professional at repairing them, or at least he used to be. I don't know if he still does it as a profession, but he certainly knows his stuff. So thank you, Steve. I appreciate all your input. Let's get on here. We have some more vintage electronic stuff. We'll see what we're going to do with it. Vintage, well, probably nearly antique. We have a Bakelite radio that I have to make some decisions on. I have an even earlier radio. It's military. It might be actually a transceiver. It might be something different. It's not in very good condition. I have to make a decision on that. And just a little cheap halogen spotlight. I'll probably sell that. I won't use that. And if we get through those 3 things today, we will have another empty shelf on this unit. There is a little box up there I put up there the other day with something from the farm in it. But other than that, we're working our way down this shelf unit quite efficiently with lots more interesting stuff to go. I have no idea what's in those boxes. So let's get these things on the bench and make some decisions. Now this radio is a big heavy beast of a thing. I gather from the lead at the back that it's actually a battery powered radio. And it looks like it's got some cracks in the Bakelite case, unfortunately. It's not going to be a restoration project, I'll tell you that now, but we will have a look at it. We'll probably clean it up a bit for sale. But we'll go and get that other thing too. And I don't know anything about this one other than I think it's World War II. It could have been out of a plane. I have no idea. It's not in very good condition. We'll probably just sell it as a really, really cool ornament. Probably won't go to too much trouble, but we'll check it out shortly. So these are the 2 main things to get off the bench, and we'll go and grab that light. Let's have a look at these 3 items before we touch them. The radio, as you can see, is in pretty rough condition. The speaker looks like it might be okay. The dial's probably all right. It's a HMV, his master's voice. That's just plastic, but it doesn't appear to be cracked, so that may well clean up quite well. Unfortunately, there's a crack across the case there, and a crack on this side. And it's a common fault with the Bakelite radios is people would lift them from the back, and they're very heavy with the transformers and everything in them. This one is particularly heavy, so there's no way knowing that piece of Bakelite is going to handle the weight. So yeah, there's not much you can do with a Bakelite case. I mean, you can glue it, but it's pretty hard to repair Bakelite. It hasn't got enough going for it really to... No, I'm not going to restore it straight up, I'll tell you that. But I don't know that anyone will clean it up. It'll just look a nice piece. It might be worth putting some new speaker cloth in there, or someone might do it. I'm not going to spend time on it. It has got its 4 original knobs, which are kind of nice. That's a bit of a saving grace. And this one says speech, normal, bass 1 and bass 2. So I guess that's a tone. Off, on, volume, tuning. And this is gram, which would be just an amplifier. BC, which is broadcast, so that's your normal AM or medium wave band, and shortwave. And we can see on the dial here there's a shortwave band at the bottom here. So I'm going to clean it up. I'm not going to try and get it going or plug it in. Well, we can't plug it in. I think it's just a battery unit. It's got the back on it. It's a model C25A. It can have an external speaker, a dial lamp switch, okay, aerial earth. So it appears to be complete. Whether we take the back off and have a peek in there, it's probably not really worth it. I might just clean it up. I'll blow some air through it with the air compressor. We'll make it more presentable. We'll put it in the shop. I don't expect it's going to really bring a lot. Look, I might just put like 30 bucks on it or something. And really, I could probably nearly take the knobs off and sell them on eBay for that sort of money. I'd rather leave it complete. Someone may love it as a project, but it's not one that I want to save up and do. This next piece is really interesting. Can you squeeze any more dials and knobs on one front panel? Hey, it's just chockers. It's been in the weather for a long time, and I rescued this from beside an old workshop, and it had been out in the scrap metal pile for many years. There was a spare valve. I don't even know if it goes with it. All of the controls are totally rock solid. You can't turn any of them. Even the switches, that one looks like it's broken. But you can't move any of the switches. It's totally frozen solid. The meter in the front's okay. I'm not sure. I think it's a transmitter. Yeah, it says it here. Transmitter type A. Type A 1.3, I think. It's got some details there. We should be able to look up. I'll just maybe check out, see if we can find a bit more about it. But it, unfortunately, is probably too far gone to do anything with. And it's not really any point in me keeping it other than it looks super cool. It's absolutely chocked full of goodies in here. But as I said, they've been in the weather. At least all the valves are in it. And the valves may still be okay. I don't know that any of the valves are going to be rare ones or anything like that. These are old can type capacitors. Look, I'd love to have the time and the knowledge to restore something like this. It'd be so cool. But no, I'm not going to devote the rest of my life to something like this just because it's cool. I'm not exactly short on projects, as most of you know. So I reckon I'll just blow this down with the air compressor. We might just neaten up the front panel a little bit, and we'll put it in the shop, probably for about $20 or $30 again, just as a really cool relic from World War II. But I'll look up the model numbers and just try and find out a bit more about that one. And the little light here is probably the only thing we've got a chance of getting going today. It's got a halogen globe in a packet in there, so it's possibly never ever been plugged in. It's a bit grotty. I'm just going to clean that up. I'll put the globe in it, make sure it works, and we're probably only going to get $10 for it anyway, so I won't go to too much trouble. So there we go. Probably not much of a result really, but it gets us a shelf cleaned off and it gets some interesting stuff in the shop. Got to be happy with that. Alright, I've put the new globe in the floodlight, and if you mind your eyes, whoa, that caused the camera some problems. It works perfectly fine and it cleaned up pretty well. You can buy these things new for about $20 or $25. I'm just going to put 10 on it in the shop. It should be fine for that. If not, we'll drop it to 5, but we'll see how we go there. Now, the transmitter, I've done a bit of checking. It's a model AT5, and apparently it was made in Sydney by AWA in the, I think, 1938 it was designed and made. And it was used in aircraft, amongst other things, but I did find an RAAF manual for it online with a complete instruction manual, including schematic diagrams and all the calibration and setting up and servicing and everything. And there are a few people around that have restored them, and there was a few forums talking about them. Apparently they came as a kit. So this is actually the transmitter. You also had a receiver and then an antenna coupler and I think a power supply unit. And they could run off different supply voltages because aircraft, I think some aircraft had like a 24 volt system or something. Look, the only thing it's got going for it is it appears to be complete. But, you know, it's obviously been out in the weather a long time. I'm not going to do any more with it other than just blow some compressed air through it. But I thought I might try it on eBay just at $50 just to give it a chance in case someone's got one and they need parts. Because that's the thing, if you're restoring one of these, and I did read in a forum, the guy was restoring one and he was looking for covers for it because without the covers on it, he was getting some sort of low frequency interference, and he assumed that the covers were some sort of shielding, and he said they're made out of unobtainium, which essentially means you can't get them. I unfortunately don't have them on this one either, but there may be a valve or another part in here that someone would give their eye teeth for. So I'm going to run it through eBay at $50. If we don't get any takers, I might relist it as a buy it now, but at $50 as an auction, at least has a chance of going a bit higher if it is a very sought after model. I didn't find too many online, I've got to say, so they can't be overly common. And I'll leave it in the shop, and yeah, look, if it doesn't sell on eBay, we'll hopefully find someone in the shop that'll give us $50 for it. So that's pretty cool. So I'll just give that a quick clean up, and I'll do some photos for eBay, but I'll keep it in the shop on display whilst it's on eBay. And now we have this HMV radio. I've taken the back off it, and it's a bit bizarre, but it looks like someone's carved the back down to enable you to get your hand in there to use it basically as a handle to lift the cabinet up. So any wonder the Bakelite cracked, because I'm sure that's not meant to be like that. It's certainly been cut down. Anyway, besides that, it appears to be complete. It's got shielding around all the valves, and it doesn't look overly damaged. I don't think it's had mice in it. It's not rusty, so that's a good thing. There's got to be some good things about it, I guess. It's got a vibrator set up here, which hums when they're operating. Now, I wasn't totally sure how they worked or what they did, so I looked it up. Hopefully, I can remember enough to explain it to you. Because this radio runs off 6 volts, it's designed for like a farm or somewhere that didn't have electricity. This was made in 1952, 53, around about then. But you have to step the voltage up because valves require quite a high voltage, a few hundred volts or so to run properly. And you can't step 6 volts DC, you can't step DC up with a transformer. But transformers, there's one in there, will step up AC. Now, what the vibrator does is it mechanically switches on and off the DC, and fairly quickly. That's why they actually vibrate. And a switching DC voltage is essentially like AC, because it's kind of on and then off and then on and off. And the transformer can then boost the voltage up to quite a high voltage, and then it's rectified back into DC to give you what they call a B+, to provide the valves with the high power they need. So that's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're always learning, and I did a bit of reading. I had a rough idea, but it's a bit clearer in my head now. You probably didn't need to know it, but you know it now anyway. Check the comments for any corrections, because there's been some great help in the comments, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, the good thing is the radio looks pretty good inside. As I mentioned, I'm going to blow it out with compressed air. I'll clean the case up, and we'll put it, I'm not going to try and eBay this one. It's simply not worth it, and it's too heavy to post. We'll put it in the shop for maybe about $30, I think. We'll see how it cleans up. Okay, we're finished cleaning things up. The radio looks a lot nicer with the top dial cleaned up. It does have a little bit of damage right at the back there, but, it's damaged, as I said, the case, so it doesn't really matter. I'm only going to sell it pretty much as I suggested for about $30. It looks nice. It's got the original knobs. I poked the speaker cloth up there a little bit so it looks a bit better. But the case, even the Bakelite that isn't cracked, it's badly worn. You can polish it back with Brasso if you've ever tried that, but it's a lot of work. And even if I did all that, it's still only going to be about $30. So we'll leave it as it is. It's presentable. I've cleaned up the back, put the cover back on it, so it's not as grimy as it was. It'll look good in the shop. As for the World War II transceiver, I didn't clean the front up very much at all. I wasn't going to go to too much trouble, but I did blow all the muck out of it. I thought there was some wiring that looked like, that's weird, and then I pull it out and it's a stick. And it turns out that a lot of the things in there that look like wiring were sticks. So it's had some sort of rosebush grow up through it at one stage over the years. There's still more in there, but I've pulled out most of it out. And I've cleaned it all up with the air compressor as best I can. It is complete to the best of my knowledge, but, it'd be probably best suitable as parts only. But I am going to try it on eBay. We'll see what happens. I've valued it at $50 because that's what I think I'd probably get for it in the shop eventually. But someone may decide that it's worth buying on eBay for parts if they're restoring one. So that brings our total, including $10 for the halogen lamp, to $90 for this episode. And we've cleaned off a shelf. Yay! So that's looking good, hey? Another empty shelf. We'll keep working down this unit. I'll let you know if that radio, the transmitter, does anything special on eBay, but chances are it won't sell because of the effort to come and pick it up, and I don't think I want to post it. I'll have it as pick up only, but I'll keep it in the shop. I'm sure we'll get 50 eventually. So thanks for watching, guys. Our total now is almost $14,000 out of this shed. I think we're at $13,960 or something. So going pretty well. Keep following the journey. I hope you find it interesting. I'm finding it interesting. We'll catch you next time. Bye for now.